Well, despite all the casting details for the upcoming James Gunn Superman movie, we really don't know too much about this universe Superman is coming alive in. We've gotten some details, but now one of the Hollywood insiders that's provided us a lot of verified information on Superman has broke down some new Superman news, talked about some test screenings of the movie, and what this DC universe that our brand new Superman lives in. So let's dive in. Now, most of us are pretty excited about the upcoming Superman film. As many of you know, James Gunn took over at DC Studios, and this will effectively be the reintroduction of the whole universe on the big screen. Now, the film has wrapped primary photography and is currently in post-production in typical James Gunn fashion, with no reshoots expected. Now, typically, this is when the doors and windows start to close and we stop getting information about a project. But recently, Daniel RPK dropped a lot of interesting details about the film. Now, obviously, it's not from Gunn or DC Studios directly, so we're going to take it with a grain of salt, but so far his batting average, specifically on Superman, has been pretty darn good, and all of these align very well to a James Gunn type of film, and what he's hinted at exists. Now, first and foremost, there apparently have been some test screenings of some footage, and it's being reported that the movie is, quote, fantastic, suggesting James Gunn might have another huge hit on his hands. Now, apparently Superman in this new world goes all out with fantasy and sci-fi elements. This means Gunn is not shying away from the superhero aspect of Superman or the world he lives in. And it sounds like to me, everything from magic to fantastical technology will definitely be on the table, which should make some of the supporting cast pretty interesting, because right out of the gate, we have a Thanagarian with nth metal. Now, according to him, this new DCU world, though, is as far removed from our world as it is removed from the former DCEU. Now, I'm not too sure what to make of that statement, except it's definitely quite different than our reality. This is absolutely what I would expect from a DC movie, though. Unlike Marvel, DC has a whole different world with many additional cities added to the map. Gotham City is not New York, and neither is Metropolis, but quite often they're placed fairly close. And if you look at a traditional DC map, you will see that many of the big cities of our famous heroes dot the landscape, and I think that world is going to be the world we're leaning into, making it quite different. Now, these next two details though are where I thought it was a little more interesting. Now, according to him, the new DCU will indeed feature various superheroes, but James Gunn is not going to shy away from different timelines. I don't know if this means a multiverse within the DCU, or if this means that we could see heroes from various ages of this particular world, because the second part of this was that heroes have been around for ages. Now, if you're a DC Comics fan, once again, this aligns well with its history. Many people don't even know it, but for example, DC Comics and the DC United States have a different 12th Amendment than ours. Our 12th Amendment kind of changed how the president and vice president are elected, but in the DC world, the 12th Amendment established the ability for masked superheroes to operate within the judicial system. This means they could testify in court as their superhero counterpart, and if that's the case in the United States, then the world that version of the United States was born into is very likely just like the bigger DC world, and that means eons of superhero empowered beings. This lays out a mighty interesting framework for James Gunn to work from, and means the history of this world goes way back, allowing him to do things that I don't think fans are expecting. You know, when you look to Young Justice and the history of that world and how Clarion and Vandal Savage shaped its history, well, you could very well see something very similar within the new DCU, and interestingly enough, if those two characters are involved at all, it could totally explain why we haven't gotten any news on a new season of Young Justice, but that's a completely different topic. In any case, everything I hear about Superman just makes me more and more excited. It sounds like Gunn is leaning in even farther into this existing superhero world to allow all these things to work. I think this is a great idea, and I am really curious how a world that's had superheroes for generations and might have grown cynical on them, well, how they greet a new Superman and how that plays into James Gunn's story. We'll have to wait and see.